Hello everyone, welcome to Lukmaan IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu newspaper analysis dated 5th of September 2023. Today is a very special day. It's like the Teachers' Day. So like we celebrate teachers like in our country. I mean like since the first the education minister, like in the name of him, I mean like we started celebrating Teachers' Day, and so today I wish everyone a happy Teachers' Day. So with this, let us start the discussion of the Hindu newspaper. So we are going to cover these many articles in today's newspaper analysis. So we are going to cover about 10 articles. These articles are from like various sections, like it covers polity, science and technology, environment and ecology. It also covers in Indian economy. Okay. So let us talk about the first topic. This topic says a distraction balloon in the winds of federalism. Okay, so this is the first topic. We are going to understand about this particular topic. Name of the topic is a distraction balloon in the name of federalism. In the name of federalism. So this article has been written by two prominent authors, and this article is related to one nation, one election concept. Okay, it is based on one nation, one election concept. Okay. So we need to understand what do we mean by one nation, one election. By the term one nation, one election, we want to say that like in India, the government of India, the present government wants to conduct election for the Lok Sabha, which is also known as general election. Okay, Lok Sabha election is known as general election because like through this, like we select the government for the for India, means like central government. Apart from this, they also want to conduct election for state legislative assemblies, okay, state legislative assemblies, and also they want to conduct local elections. Means they want to conduct all these elections simultaneously at the same time. Now, this particular concept, one nation, one election concept, seems to be a rosy picture that like on a single day, the like Election Commission of India will be conducting election across the country, right, across the country, and it will be for Lok Sabha, state legislative elections, and also local elections. So is it that easy, and why it is desired? Okay, so first of all, let us understand why this one nation, one election concept came and why it is desired. Means the government which is promoting the idea of having one nation, one election concept, so like they have, let's say, like they have said like why it is needed. Okay, they said why it is needed. So let us understand why it is needed. First of all, one of the idea is presently the like in India we are conducting elections round the year. Sometimes the election is of, let's say, like of one particular state, then the other state, then other state, and in within states also we are conducting, let's say, local elections. Okay, so election happens round the year in one or other state in India. Okay, so why it is needed? Because like we want to reduce the frequency of elections. Okay, reduce the frequency of elections. Okay, this is one of the idea. They want to reduce the frequency of elections in India, so that like the machinery, I mean like the Election Commission of India, they have to just conduct it once, and after then people can focus on governance. Okay, so why we want to reduce the like frequency of elections? Because we want to focus on governance. Okay, we want to focus on governance. This is the another idea. Third idea, I mean like why it is needed, is that they say that like if we conduct elections across the year, I mean like round the year across India in many places, it leads to huge expenditure. Okay, so we want to reduce the expenditure. Okay, we want to reduce the expenditure because, okay, reduce the expenditure because they say like if we conduct election round the year, so like it leads to lot of money expenditure, okay, and also they want to, let's say they want to reduce the expenditure and they want to make more efficient elections, okay. So for going for more efficient election process, okay, they want to go for more efficient election process in India. So these are the ideas that are put forward by the government, okay, in support of one nation, one election concept. Now, why it is not feasible? Let us understand that why it is not feasible, okay. So this is also important, because we need to understand that like why it is not feasible. We have understood like why it is needed. Now we need to understand why it is not feasible. One of the idea that why it is not feasible, because like conducting simultaneous election will need huge amount of manpower. The Election Commission of India, the ECI, will require huge, right? They will require huge, resource base. They will require huge resource base in terms of the security personnels, okay, security personnels. Second, in terms of the EVMs, okay, they need many more electronic voting machines, okay. So this requires a huge amount of expenditure in the beginning to acquire those many EVMs. Presently we are conducting elections, let's say in West Bengal, after some time in Kerala, so like we are able to, let's say, transport these EVMs. But if you want to conduct simultaneous elections across India, we need more EVMs. So it will need huge expenditure in the beginning, and also conducting simultaneous election will be a very, okay, it will be a very complex task, okay, very complex task for, it will be a very complex task for the Election Commission of India itself. This is second thing. The third thing is that let's consider in a particular state, right, if the let's say the constitutional machinery is not functioning, that particular state is brought under the president's rule. Why it is brought under the president's rule? To bring normalcy into the state, right, to bring normalcy. However, if election is conducted in one go, and if a state legislative assembly dissolves in a particular state, do they have to wait for, let's say, 5 years for conducting the election once again, or it is going to give the authority to the President of India to rule on that particular state for the to wait for the next term of the election for 5 years? So this is the thing, I mean, like it is going to meddle with the I mean, like this federal structure, okay. So like it does have issues related to, let's say, meddling with the federal structure of the constitution. Federal structure, it says that if our chief minister is, let's say, elected in a particular state, okay, chief minister is elected, that chief minister has the authority to dissolve, okay, he can dissolve his own government. But in this case, if he dissolves, like that has been the case in the state of Kerala earlier, that the Kerala government has dissolved itself, right, and later on they have asked for another election, so another election happened. So that by elections these things will not be possible. It will lead to, let's say, like the centralization of, okay, it will lead to centralization of election process itself, okay, of election process, which is against the democratic, I mean, like democratic way in which the country is being run at this point of time. So these are the, let's say, like cons related to it. And so the thing is, like, presently we are following the structure where, like wherever election is needed, the Election Commission of India notifies the date. They talk about the like what are going to be the what we say, this is, I mean, like model code like code of conduct, model code, so they release, so accordingly it is being done. However, like we have conducted simultaneous election when, like in 1951, since 1951 to 67 we have conducted simultaneous election. Why it was needed at that point of time? Because India had just become independent, and like election was needed for the entire country, so we have done it. Later on the thing became more complex, and with complexity we have adopted this particular thing. So this was adopted, right, based on the requirement of the hour. So we do not need to go back to to the initial stage, right, because the system has become more complex, and we now have more population as compared to what we had when we became independent. So that population issue is also there. So that's why now it is not feasible to conduct simultaneous election. So in this article the authors have taken a critical view. They have talked about why it is not possible or not feasible, right, to conduct simultaneous election. They have given many points in this article, so we have broadly understood about this particular concept. So with this we will quickly move to the next topic. This topic is again important. It says emerging countries need women-led climate action. Okay, so we are going to understand about this topic. It says topic number 2. Emerging countries need women-led climate action. Need women-led climate action. So this topic is related to GS paper 3. It's important under environment and ecology. So we need to understand that why they are talking about women-centric climate action. So first of all, let us understand what do we mean by climate action. Whenever we are talking about climate action, what do we mean by climate action? Climate action means, it simply means we need to take some steps, right? We need to take some steps, and these steps will be taken to mitigate, okay, to mitigate the climate change. Okay, to mitigate the climate change that is happening. Okay, we need to mitigate the climate change. It means we need to reduce, okay, we need to reduce the greenhouse gas emission, okay, GHGs, okay, or greenhouse gas emission. We need to adopt alternative sources of energy. Okay, we need to adopt alternative sources of energy. Why alternative sources of energy? Currently we are using fossil fuel based energy, okay, fossil fuel based energy, but we need to move towards greener sources of energy. Greener sources of energy includes the renewable energy, okay, it includes renewable energy, right? For example, the solar power, hydroelectricity, right, hydroelectricity, or we can talk about this wind energy, etc. Okay, wind energy, etc. And also the nuclear power plants, they are also considered to be more greener as compared to the fossil fuels. Okay, so we need to move towards alternative sources of energy. Okay, along with this we need to create policies, right, policies that, let's say, that controls or that reduces the fossil fuel. Okay, means to control or limit the use of fossil fuels. So these are the steps. Okay, climate action means we need to take these steps. Why these steps are needed? So that we can avoid any catastrophic change in the climate, because climate change is leading to many effects. For example, let's say if climate change is happening, okay, if climate change is happening, so what are its effects? Okay, what are its effects that we can see? Okay, what are its effects? One of the effect is we are seeing deglaciation. Okay, deglaciation means glaciers are melting. So since glaciers are melting, so sea level rise is happening. Okay, sea level rise is happening. Okay, so because of this particular thing. And also we are seeing global warming. Okay, global warming is also happening. So a lot of these things are happening, and this has, let's say, changed the way the environment exists. For example, like, it has led to more frequency of disasters. Okay, more frequency of disaster event. Okay, more frequency of disasters. For example, disasters. Why more frequency of disasters? For example, we now see more forest fires happening. We now see, I mean, like, we see landslides. We see, let's say, forest fires. And we also see many similar, let's say, like, catastrophe. And their frequency has gone up. Why? Because human induced effects. Okay, so this is the thing. So climate change actually impacts us, and like many coastal nations are there, many, let's say, like island nations are there, they are on the verge of getting submerged. Why? Because sea level rise is happening. Yesterday there was an article, this is Atlantification. Atlantification means increasing in the temperature, right? Increasing in the temperature of waters in the Arctic Ocean. Okay, in the Arctic Ocean, from the Atlantic Ocean, because of, let's say, water current circulation. Someone has joined, so Anand Dhyani, happy Teachers Day. Same to you. Teachers of Lukmaan IAS are like guiding light. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining. I thought, like, you have asked some questions. Okay, so we will go ahead with this. So it says climate change. Oh, so we have understood what are the effects of climate change. We have also understood what are the steps that we need to take. Since we have understood this particular thing, in this article they have talked about that, like, the climate change, okay, the climate change related thing, so they should be women centric. Okay, climate action, they say that climate action should be women centric. So let us understand, why do we need women centric approach? Okay, why do we need women centric approach to mitigate climate change? One of this thing is, like, one of the reason is that, like, women are more affected. Okay, women are more affected because of climate change. Which women? Those people, like, who belong to, let's say like, rural households, who belong to low income groups, because, like, they are dependent on natural resources. Okay, they are dependent on natural resources. For example, like, for cooking and all, they depend on, like, many things that they gather from the forest. Okay, and since climate change is happening, so, like, their livelihood is also affected. So they say that, like, there are many countries, like, countries especially in low income group. Okay, those countries that are in low income or middle income countries. Okay, so there, like, there are many households where they are dependent on natural resources, so they are more affected. And if we need to develop a climate, let's say, like, model for adapting to the climate change, or for taking action towards climate change, so we need to consult these women. We not only need to consult, we need to make it women centric approach, because they are the ones who are more affected. They'll be the ones who will be able to give us more suggestion related to what steps we need to take, right? What are the things that we can do, right? So that will be thing. So in this article, the author has put forward the views that, like, why we need a women centric approach. One of the thing is, like, women are more affected, so they know that, like, what can mitigate their let's say, like, their issues, what can reduce their, let's say, gravity of the difficulty that they are facing. So that's the thing. Okay, so in this article they have mentioned about this. Okay, so you can go through this article to understand little more. So with this, let us quickly move to the next topic. And before that, there is a question, so I'm going to read this question. It says, what do you understand by women led climate action? Why there is a need for gender sensitive response to the effects of climate change? This topic is a very good question, so you need to write an answer to this question. After writing your answer, you need to submit it with us, which is Jahidul at lukmaanias.com. Okay, So after writing an answer, please share your answer with us on this email address. So with this, let us move to the next topic quickly. Then we have another topic. This topic is important. It says living in the age of moral dystopia. Okay, moral dystopia. So like this topic is going to be very interesting. Okay. Name of the topic is living in the age of moral dystopia. Okay, moral dystopia basically. So we need to understand the concept of moral dystopia. Okay, we need to understand the concept of moral dystopia first, then we will understand about other things. Why this topic is important? This is important for GS paper 4 of the mains exam, which is ethics, integrity and aptitude, and also this is important for GS paper 1 under Indian society. Okay, so we are going to understand about this thing. Moral dystopia means, like, this is a situation where the moral character of the masses, the morality of the masses goes down. Okay, means like people become more immoral. Okay, so the tendency, okay, it means the tendency to accept, okay, to accept immoral behavior. Okay, to accept immoral behavior. And not only immoral, it does have many consequences related to it. Let's say in our society, right, there is a wide prevalence of prejudice. Okay, there is a wide prevalence of prejudice. Prejudice means like having a kind of notion about certain communities that they are not good. The way that they dress is not good. The way that they eat is not good. Means like, you have a preconceived notion that this is not right, this is right. However, the value system on which you have built that notion may be flawed. Okay, that is known as prejudice. And recently the Supreme Court of India has come up with a let's say handbook related to combating what? Combating, let's say, prejudice against women. They have come up with this thing. Okay, so like, so there is a widespread prejudice. So like, so moral dystopia is a situation where like people publicly accept the prejudice. For example, if someone is being thrashed on the road, so nowadays people have become less sensitive towards it. People just pass by. People do not take care of like why he is being thrashed. We need to intervene. Like, we like maybe individually we need to take action, or collectively we need to take action like this. So like, people have accepted it and it has become a new normal in this society. Okay, so widespread prejudice is there. So it has led to, let's say, like, huge prevalence of hate speech, right? Hate speech, and even like, it has led to huge amount of violence in this society. Okay, violence has gone up. Okay, it has increased. Violence has gone up in the society. And not only this thing, even the law enforcement agencies, even the governments are supporting this particular notion. Earlier, if any wrong was being done, there used to be hundreds of people who used to raise their voice against the wrong. But now the wrongs are being perpetrated by the authorities themselves, and that's why there is a tendency among the people not to speak up against it or to accept it blindly. Okay, so this has been the tendency. So that is known as moral dystopia. Okay, this is a situation of moral dystopia. In this article, the author has said that like we are living in the age of moral dystopia. What the author says, that we are living in the age of moral dystopia, means this is a situation where the morality among the masses has gone down. Means like now what is happening, let's say like, if there is a rapist, right, so they have given an example also, Kathua. So there, if there is a rapist, like, rapist of a child, 8-year-old child, so like there are hundreds of people who are in support of that particular rapist. So this is I mean, like, this is moral dystopia, means like the morality of the masses has gone down. And also there are situations where people have gone for bulldozer justice. In this sense, that if something happens, the authorities take out the bulldozer and they bulldoze the houses of the people. They are not only affecting the culprit in this sense, they are not only affecting the suspect person. Suspect means someone who has not yet been convicted in a court of law after going through fair trial. So this is a kind of instant justice that they want to bring. However, they are not only affecting the culprit, they are also affecting the family members of the culprit. Because in building a house, it takes years, it takes effort of the entire house. Okay, so the thing is, like in this article they have talked about that, like moral dystopia is happening in this society, and we are living in that particular society where it has been taken as a norm. It has been taken as a norm. But after 100 years from now, let's say in future, when people will look back, they will see this particular era, this particular time period in our history, they will see it as, let's say, demoralization of this society. They will see it as dehumanization. Okay, that's the thing. So in this article they have talked about this particular thing, and the author has given many such examples, right, related to this. So they have mentioned examples they have given. They have talked about that now the value system has changed and the shared living is no longer a cherished idea for millions. Okay, so this is the thing. So in this article, just you need to go through it, you will understand about what do we mean by moral dystopia, because the meaning of the word is important. Now it says conformism is the norm today. Conformism means if authorities are doing something wrong, so like people are confirming that they have done it right. Okay, so this is considered to be a norm today. Okay, conformism is the norm today. Humanism, justice and freedom have all been consigned to the deep freeze and to be retrieved at some indefinable point in future. Okay, so they say that like these value systems, that is humanism, justice and freedom, they have been, let's say, put in freeze. I mean, maybe it can be revived some point in future, right, after some time. So this is the thing. In this article they have talked about this, and this topic is very, very short topic, very, it's a topic related to one of the government scheme. This is known as Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. Okay, so Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, in short it is known as PMUY. So Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana is one of the government scheme, and in this scheme the government of India gives some kind of, let's say, concession to or subsidies for LPGs. Okay, for LPGs. LPGs means liquefied petroleum gas, means household cylinder. Okay, so some people are given some subsidy. So under this particular thing, so in this article they have talked about that the rate of the cylinders have, let's say, like more than doubled in the past few years. In 2018 the rate was around 400, and now it has it has crossed 1000 and all. Recently the government of India has given 200 rupees subsidy per cylinder, still it is 903 rupees. So they say that the price of LPG has gone let's say manifold, and this price has gone manifold, and it is still very high despite the subsidies being offered by the government. And in this article they have also given some data points to us. So one of the data point, chart 1, it says the chart shows the number of beneficiaries who brought no refill or no and one refill. There are around 25% customers who took no cylinder refill in the last 1 year, or just they have taken one refill. It means like people are not availing the benefit of Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. Second chart shows that the price of subsidized LPG cylinders from Pradhan Mantri Urban Yojana beneficiaries and non-subsidized cylinders. So there are two categories of people. One category of people who are taking the subsidies while purchasing the cylinder. If they have to pay 1100, so after subsidy they are paying 900. And then there are other customers who are paying the full amount. So here in this graph they have talked about non-subsidized people who are taking the LPG cylinders, non-subsidized. These are shown in blue color. And this is the thing, the price for non-subsidy people and price with subsidy. Okay, so like earlier there was a huge difference. Now that difference has let's say come down. Okay, difference has squeezed, and also like, you know, after subsidy it is again 903, which is more than double that of 2018. So this is the thing. And the chart 3 shows the average refills of LPG cylinder per household. Okay, so per household, how many cylinder do they refill in a year? So they have mentioned that, like, you know, 3.53, 4.02 means this is, I mean, average of the thing. So that's why it is in point. If there are one household, so it will be in exact number. If there are many households, so like, you know, total number divided by, I mean, like they do this thing divided by 12, so they will come to this thing. Fourth chart shows the international FOB price of LPG in per metric ton between, I mean, like, you know, this January 2019 and 2023. Okay, so like what was the international pricing of this particular thing of refill? Okay, this is the thing. So FOB means free on board. Okay, now free on board, like, you know, this is a concept of international trade. When we do international trade, there are many concepts related to this. Means free on board means, for example, let's say, like, you know, there is a country A, there is a country B, right? We are sending something from country A to country B. Generally, the goods that are exported, they are exported through sea routes. Okay, they are exported through sea routes. So when we talk about free on board concept, it means like from this country through roadways, it will come to the point where, like, you know, there will be loading of this particular thing into the ship. Okay, so it will include all the cost, let's say, like, you know, from the point A of the country to the shipping thing. Okay, so once it is shipped, till it is shipped, right, whatever cost was incurred, that will be included. Okay, that is known as free on board. Okay, so there are many concepts related to international trade and all. So once we ship something, so like they give something which is known as bill of lading. Okay, there is a bill which is known as bill of lading. Okay, bill of lading. Generally, you might have heard about e-way bills. For example, if we are sending some consignment from one place to another through roadways, so like we get a bill which is e-way bill. Then through airways, it is airway bill, and through sea routes, it is bill of lading, it is known as. Okay, so it is part of a kind of international trade concept. So like, you know, so there free on board, the price was this much, right, in international like, you know, oceans and all, this was the price. Now we came to another topic. It says Aditya L1, its functioning and purpose. So we have already understood about Aditya L1 in our previous articles. In this article also we are going to understand about Aditya L1. Okay, we are going to understand about Aditya L1 quickly. Aditya L1. So what is Aditya L1? Aditya L1 is a spacecraft that we have, let's say, launched from ISRO, right? We have launched from ISRO, and where it wants to reach? It wants to reach at Lagrangian point 1. Okay, so I will talk about another concept today. Okay, so let's say this is Earth, let's say this is Sun. We are launching this particular spacecraft. It is intended to go here at L1 point. So L1 point is not a specific point. It's let's say, like, you know, it's an area like this. I mean, like, you know, it's a huge area. So we need to park something over L1 point. Once we park something over L1 point, it will be relatively stable. Means like it do not need any motor and anything to stay stable in this particular point. It will be stable, right? So it will be, let's say, under lesser influence from Earth and Sun. Okay, but this L1 point, since Earth is revolving around the Sun, so will this point be here itself? No, this point will also be, let's say, revolving around the Sun like this. It will be revolving around the Sun in the same manner as the Earth does, and this particular orbit will be known as halo orbit. This will be known as halo orbit. Okay, this is halo orbit. So we want to place this particular Aditya L1 in halo orbit. Okay, from here we want to place it in halo orbit. So this L1 point, which is known as Lagrange point 1. So how do we came about this Lagrange point? So in this article they have talked about a mathematician who have talked about this Lagrange point. His name is Joseph Louis Lagrange. Okay, So name of the mathematician is Joseph Louis Lagrange. He has identified where the Lagrange point will be located. So this Lagrange point is located at a distance of 1.5 million kilometer, okay, million kilometer, which is 15 lakh kilometer away, okay, from Earth, right? And this distance is 1% of the distance that Earth and Sun has, okay. This is the 1% of the distance, and so it is going to take about 110 days for this particular spacecraft to reach there, okay. It is going to take this much timing to reach there. So what is the utility of Aditya L1? Aditya L1 is going to reach here. It's going to receive, let's say, like, you know, Earth's like sun's, okay, it's going to receive sun's rays, okay. Not only rays, it is also going to receive the coronal, okay. So there are few concepts related to this we are going to discuss. One of the concept is known as coronal mass ejection, okay. One of the concept is coronal mass ejection. Let's understand about it. What do we mean by coronal mass ejection? So basically what happens on the surface of the sun, right? Reactions happen, chemical reactions happen, and these reactions are known as nuclear fusion reaction, okay. So nuclear fusion reaction happens, okay. Nuclear fusion reaction means a reaction where two small nucleus, they will come together, they will merge to make a bigger one. For example, two hydrogen will come together to make helium, okay. So this is known as nuclear fusion reaction. The other type of nuclear reaction, it is known as nuclear fission reaction. In nuclear fission reaction, one big atom, right, it is going to break, okay. So if we give some kind of thing like, you know, energy to it, it is going to break into two let's say, like, you know, little smaller atoms than this one. However, this atom having, let's say, atomic number of 80 plus or 36 like this, and these have just one. So this is known as nuclear fission reaction, okay. It is known as nuclear fission, F-I-S-S-I-O-N reaction. So on sun both the reactions happen, but on the core of the sun it is nuclear fusion reaction. And here on the surface of the sun, the temperature, okay, temperature is in millions of degree centigrade, okay. It is in millions of degree centigrade. However, if we talk about on the atmosphere of the sun, on the atmosphere of the sun over here, it is around 5600 degree centigrade, okay. So this is, you know, many times lower as compared to on the surface of the sun. So what happens, since many reactions are happening, so the way that we sneeze, right, so this way, I mean, from sun also, I mean, like sometimes the rays comes like this, okay. That is known as coronal mass ejection. This is known as coronal mass ejection. So whenever coronal mass ejection happens, it also leads to release of huge amount of energy and also magnetic field. So on Aditya L1, right, we have placed some kind of instruments, some payloads that are going to study about the coronal mass ejection also. It's going to study and it's going to give us information related to it, and we will be able to study it, we will be able to understand it. And like, you know, already there are many countries, for example, the United States of America, they have already sent one of its, USA and there is another country, they have together, right? Yeah, European Union. So European Union and NASA, they have together placed a similar mission at L1, okay. They already has an L1 thing. So there, from there they are receiving data, but this one, the Aditya L1 that we are sending, it is going to be more precise, it is going to give us more information. So as of now we have just launched it and it is there in earthbound orbit. So we are going to do orbit raising maneuvers, means like we are going to increase its orbit and we are going to make its orbit more elliptical, okay, like this, more elliptical. And then after some time we are going to place it at L1 point, okay. So in this article they have discussed about what are the objectives of this particular mission. Okay, so they have discussed about many points like this, and payloads related thing I have already discussed in our previous discussion. Okay, so now let us understand one more concept, okay, which is so we have heard about corona graph. Okay, what? CORONO graph. So what is corona graph? Corona graph is solar telescope. Okay, it is known as solar telescope. That's the thing. So in this article they have mentioned about corona graph also. So with this, let us move to the next topic, and before that we have a question. We need to solve this question. It says, consider the following statements. They have given a statement. It says, radiation of intense solar flare can interfere with the communication on Earth. Okay, this is right. Every 7 years, sun's magnetic field completely flips. This is wrong. Third, the corona of the sun is only visible during the moment of total solar eclipse. Okay, this is also right. Okay, so two of these statements are right. Okay, so corona of the sun, I mean, like, we are watching this corona from the surface of the Earth. When solar eclipse happens, so the sun is, let's say, like, hidden, but like its corona is seen. Okay, this is known as corona of the sun is only visible during the moment of solar eclipse. Otherwise, like, it's not visible because of the brightness of the sun. Okay, so the first statement and third statement are correct. Okay, second statement is incorrect. So with this, like, we do have some images also. We have discussed earlier about it. There are 5 Lagrange points between Earth and sun. So this is at L1 we are sending it, and this is L2, this is L3, L4 and L5. Okay, so this is what is being explained in this through this article. Now we have another topic. Okay, this topic says, understanding Laicite, the French principle of secularism. Okay, so let us understand about this. What do we mean by Laicite? So Laicite is a concept that the French government uses. So they have a concept related to secularism. So under this particular Laicite concept, like, they keep the state and public affairs separate from the religious affairs. They say religious affairs should be personal. It should be personal to the person, to their household. They should not display it, right? They should not display it in public places. Okay, this is the thing. So they have mentioned that Laicite is a kind of concept that talks about secularism. In India, the principle of secularism is different. Here we give equal importance to all religions in India. So, like, there is an assimilation over here, right? But in France, they say like that, like, you should not display your religious thing in the public domain. And in public schools, like, the government run schools in France, they do not allow any religious symbols to be, let's say, like, showcased and all, so that, like, they can homogenize the society. So related to this, they have given many examples also, but, like, you can read this to understand. Okay, so this concept of secularism is very important for GS paper 2 and also for GS paper 1. Okay, society. Then we have another topic. It says, CGI asks petitioners if Article 370 is above basic structure and amending power of the Parliament. Okay, so the Supreme Court of India is hearing the matter related to abrogation of Article 370. So in this case, I mean, like, the Chief Justice of India along with 4 more judges, they are hearing the case, they are hearing from the petitioner side and also from the respondent side from the government. So recently, Chief Justice of India has asked the petitioners that, like, whether Article 370 is above the basic structure and amending power of the Parliament. So to this, they have responded that, like, it is not above the basic structure, it's part of the basic structure itself. And also, like, the Parliament of India can amend any part of the Constitution under Article 368. However, for amending Article 370, there is a provision inside Article 370 itself under clause, third clause. So there is a procedure, and also Article 369 also talks about it. So they say that, like, under Article 360 is unavailable. They say, so there is in our constitution a provision to which even amending power is available in respect of the rest of the constitution. So they have mentioned this thing, okay, so they have said to amend Article 370 to change anything, the provision is made inside that article itself, okay. So like using Article 368, the Article 370 cannot be amended. So I mean, like, so they have like mentioned about some of the, what we say, arguments between the petitioners and the government respondents, okay. So in this article, now this is another topic. It says Vikram lander does a hope, like goes to sleep, good night till September 22nd. This topic is related to, let's say, like a sidereal day. So one moon day is equal to 14 earth days, okay. So we have landed the Chandrayaan 3 on the south pole of the moon at a time when there was about to be a sunrise on the surface of the moon on the south pole. So after this, like, for 14 days, the lander and rover, they have conducted experiments. And after conducting experiments over there, they have given data to us, right? So we have received data from the lander and rover modules. And so what has happened now, it is about to be a, like, let's say, night timing over there, and that night timing will be equal to 14 earth days. So what we have done, we have turned off the systems on lander module and on rover module. Why? So that, like, energy is not drained off. After 14 days, means like, on September 22, again we are going to turn on these things so that, like, we can get more information from here. But so far, Chandrayaan 3 mission in all, it has given all the data that we needed. It has completed its objectives, okay, so far. But after 14 days, after September 22nd, we may receive more information, additional information, okay. Now we need to understand what do we mean by hop. Hop means turning off and turning on. Quick start means, like, if we shut it down, then if we turn it on, that is hop. So we have done this particular thing also to check whether, like, on 22nd of September it will be able to wake up or not, okay. So like it has done it. So it's a cheerful moment that, like, after like 22 days also, means like after this September 22, we will be able to turn on it again, okay. So this is the thing, because the instruments that we have sent as part of Chandrayaan 3 mission, they are solar powered, they need solar energy. So that's why we have turned it off for the time being, and we are going to turn it on at a later date. Then we have another topic. It says Telecom farms civil society groups divided over selective ban on apps. Now what happens, the government of India or state governments, they go for internet shutdown whenever there is any law and order situation somewhere which is not under control. For example, in the riot affected, like in the Manipur, so, like, there is huge violence that is happening. How the authorities can control it? They can control it by deploying security forces. They can control it by issuing advisories to people. And if things are out of control, if, let's say, misinformation is spreading, so they sometimes resort to switching off or turning off the internet. However, turning off the internet is not considered a viable option. It's not considered a good option in an economy like ours, like in a country like ours. So now the Department of Telecom, they have flagged an idea, they have floated an idea that we can go for selective app bans. Means like we can ban the, let's say, like, WhatsApp and other messaging apps during the time of this particular thing. However, like there is mixed response from different stakeholders. The telecom company says that these apps are actually using the internet. However, they are not paying the internet companies for it, these apps. So I mean, like, and from civil society groups also there are mixed response. Some people say it is a good move, some people say it is a bad move. However, it is not yet implemented. It is an idea that has been floated by the Department of Telecommunication. Okay, so we need to see whether it is implemented or not. It may be implemented because it is a better option than blanket internet ban. Okay, so this is the thing. Now we have like one of the last topic. It says CBDCs can make payments across borders efficient. CBDCs stands for Central Bank Digital Currency. Central bank digital currency has been recently released by the Reserve Bank of India. It has been released in two versions. One of the version is wholesale CBDC, other is retail CBDC. Using wholesale CBDCs, the banks can settle, right, their account with the Reserve Bank of India. And using CBDCs, the retailers like us, the citizens can make payment, right? We can make payment and we can receive payment. However, all the transactions that we are doing, this transaction is happening on the accounts of the Reserve Bank of India directly. Means in the current model that we have, bank-led model, so like, you know, we are making and receiving payments, it is reflecting on the bank account, right? The State Bank account, HDFC Bank account, and also this is on the books of the banks. However, the CBDC, on CBDC, whatever transactions we are doing, it is reflecting on the account of the Reserve Bank of India directly. And this platform has been built using, like, you know, the Bitcoin technology, Bitcoin or like blockchain technology. Okay, this is the thing. So recently the RBI governor has said that CBDCs can make payments across borders efficient. Why? Because, like, you know, it requires lesser time to do the transaction, it requires lesser cost also to do the transaction. So now the RBI governance is hopeful that using CBDC we can do, let's say, like, you know, cross border transaction in local currencies. For example, in UAE they have started accepting the Indian rupee, so from there people can transfer their money using CBDC. So this was the thing. Okay, so this is, I mean, like, CBDC, this concept has been there for a long time since it was introduced, but still it is not in wide practice among people because people don't know how to operate it. Slowly and gradually it will be adopted, right? Yeah. So that's all from my side for the day. Thank you so much everyone for attending today's session, and I hope you have a good day ahead. Thank you. Thank you.